so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to cue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back. All right, all you positive heads, welcome, welcome. Here we go again. It is a magical Monday here in the studio as I record. And as always, it is a pleasure to be back with you to explore what's what, where's where, and who's who. I am you, you are me, and all that jazz. What am I going to talk about today? Well, I'm glad you asked. Today I am going to do something I haven't done in a month or so, pull from the Untethered Soul card deck, which is based off the book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Book I really enjoy, highly recommend. And I love just having these prompts of cards to, they're quotes from the book to kind of riff off of and just share my thoughts around the wisdom written on them. And so without further ado, I'm going to just dive right in, grab the deck. And if you guys remember a few months back, I pulled some cards, and then maybe a week later, I pulled cards again. And I pulled the same 3 cards out of this 52 card deck. It was wild. So obviously that message needed to get through. If you want to go back, by the way, and ever find these episodes, you can search, go to positivehead.com and search Untethered Soul, and you'll see all the episodes where I pulled from this deck before. So I'm going to pull and then double check and make sure it's not one that I pulled before and take it from there. Okay, number 1. And I pulled one that I pulled last time. What is going on? What's the chances? I mean, as we get more and more, obviously it's more likely, but so far I've pulled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, and I just pulled the same one. So I'll go ahead and read it again. The more you sit in the self, the more you will begin to feel an energy that you have never experienced before. It comes up from behind rather than in front, where you experience your mind and emotions. Wow. So this one, I think I'm pulling this one again. Well, it's for you if you're hearing it, but it's for me too. And it's something right before I turn on the podcast each day, I will take a moment just to like breathe deeply and sort of align each chakra, do a visualization. And I always have the feeling of, wow, this feels good instantly. It feels energizing and empowering each and every time I do it. Why am I not doing this more? And I'll go through spells where I'm not the most dedicated meditator, and I'm such a doer. And I've talked about this before. It's like I sometimes find it. Let me look at my wording here. In the past, I have found it challenging to or chosen not to, not even that it's challenging, chosen not to take the time to sit with myself and instead do things, right? Be active, get tasks done, et cetera, et cetera. And so I know this is one that's close to home for me, hence pulling it twice because literally I have the list of them as I pull them, and this was pulled on the last time I did this. And I'm shuffling this deck good. It's not like it's sitting on the top and I'm just pulling from the top again. Really wild. The more you sit in the self, the more you will begin to feel an energy that you have never experienced before. Interesting. It comes up from behind rather than in front, where you experience your mind and emotions. So apparently that's something that I'm meant to do more of, and so are you, which is why I'm pulling it again. So let's sit with that. I am going to make a concerted effort this week. It's Monday to sit with myself more and make the time to do it each day. And yeah, I'm even traveling some later in the week, but I'm going to make the time to do that. Okay, next. Okay, haven't pulled this one before. If you choose to center and not participate in the extremes, you will come to know the Tao. Interesting. The way. The Tao is the way. The Tao Te Ching he's referring to, which is very ancient teachings, basically teaching that all is one, it's all connected. And yeah, check out the Tao Te Ching if you haven't. But if you choose to center and not participate in the extremes, you will move into another level of being. I was just talking this morning with a friend who, my ex-business partner, who I've kind of shared about in my book, and sort of the journey of our relationship over a long time, decade plus now, going from best friends to foes to great friends again, and on and on it goes with all of us throughout eternity, I would imagine. But just talking to him about his experience this weekend, and he was in the middle of like all these, he was at Stagecoach, which I think is in Nashville. He has a home in Nashville. Country music festival, not my number one favorite type of music. I love Nashville. I went to college there, but he was there with like one of the headliners, Luke Brown, and he hung out with Tim Cook and Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis and all these big name, these people we've all know their names and know them, and he was talking about watching himself, as he's surrounded by all this sort of energy of famous people, et cetera, and seeing how he's getting so much better at not participating in the extremes of his own, and just being in the observer and seeing when insecurities came up, and just, I think that is such a powerful, what a powerful thing to be able to be in, sort of, and also, using some mushrooms during that experience is probably pretty trippy, right? You're sitting there having a conversation with Tim Cook on mushrooms, like very interesting. And yeah, but not getting too caught up in the whole game of it, in the ego identity of it. If something, talking about another pretty extreme situation with personal relationship and friend, and just who lost their child recently, and it's a very intense sort of lost a child to overdose recently, and he's been dealing with that, and just like a lot of extremes in his life, and he's a pretty extreme person, and just talking about like, man, I'm getting so much better observing this character, this avatar that I am, and all the humanness of it, and not getting swept up in, the drama, that can be intense sometimes with, like, for example, the friend who lost their child, and it's like, just really finding my center. And I think that's such a powerful thing for us to do, is like to, your life, we all have it in different levels of extreme moments of losing someone close to us, or the breakup, or being, let's say, in a high intensity situation that is you're around a bunch of celebrities, or, to use that same example, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like these, there's so much going on, and who am I in the midst of it? And just coming to your center and, choosing to center and being aware, being more self-aware of you're human. And then of course the real you, the eye in the center of the storm that's just observing and watching it all. It's not overly impressed. It's not overly caught up. It's not overly insecure. It's not overly boastful or egotistical. It just is in there, and it is awareness. It is beingness, and that is really tapping into. When you're doing that, you are tapping into the power of existence itself. You're tasting source, I would say. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's see what wants to come up. Oh, have I seen this one before? Let me look it up. No, I have not. Okay, but what's interesting is this one. This one really just piggybacks on exactly what I was just saying, tapping into source. Get this. Ooh, it's so cool. Like just like expanding on it. Your God is in ecstasy, and there's nothing you can do about it. And if God is in ecstasy, I wonder what he sees when he looks at you. Ooh, I love that one. Your God is in ecstasy, and I wonder what she sees when she's looking at you. Isn't that says it all, right? Wow, what a powerful, I've never even thought about it in that way. That, I haven't thought, I have considered it, but that just puts it in such a profound and simple way. Like that God looks at you and only sees love, right? It's just like, but ecstatic love, like God is ecstasy. The idea of being in this heightened, blissed, incredible state. I would say that's the highest expression of source, which is infinite in all directions and multifaceted, but that is sort of the heart, the core of what it is, right? I would agree with that statement. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do to bring God out of ecstasy. It's too far gone. It's too powerful, right? And so whenever you're considering yourself, it's like you hear the idea to see as Jesus does or God does, or, we've all heard these ideas, like, and viewing the world through that lens. So if you were to view the lens through source, and source's highest vantage point is seeing everything in its absolute splendor and divine perfection, what are you tapping into if you can start doing that? That is, what a shortcut to having a life filled with bliss and meaning. I'm just going to tap into the vibrational pool that my source is tapping into on a level, many-fold more. I'm expanded beyond what our human. If we could feel the ecstasy that God feels, I imagine we would explode instantly. Our body would, we're electrical beings. Think of, with you have current running through you. You are, literally made of electricity. Energy. If you had that level of energy pumping through your system, I'm sure it would just like disintegrate your whole being. You would definitely talk about going supernova. But just tapping into that in the way that we can as humans. Like God is in ecstasy, and there's nothing I can do about it. And if God's in ecstasy, then when God looks at me, that's what she sees, and is completely ecstatic about who you are, where you've been, what you've done, all your bumps, all your bruises, all the ugliness around that you are ashamed of. God sees ecstasy in the beauty, the perfectly imperfect being that you are. And you are God's child. You are God's extension. You are a chip off the block, a fractal of this source. And it is ecstatic about where you've been, and especially where you're going, right? Because where you're going is being paved and possible because of where you've been, and all these things that you are maybe not so proud of, and you personally judging yourself don't feel so good about. And without that path previously, you couldn't be who you are and appreciate where you're going. And taking on that vantage point is so empowering, and you deserve it. It's time. That is the path. It's back to the self-love. It's the number one thing we're all here to learn, I believe. And once you get that and you can start seeing things the way Source sees things, I would say that's a pretty good indicator you're onto something. You're on to, I always say what results speak the loudest. We all have philosophies and theories and ideas about lots of things. And I'm probably not going to get advice from the person about health and wellness who's, morbidly obese because they eat, the most unhealthy things they can and sit around and watch TV all day. Probably not, what results is your approach getting you? And if you can apply this approach to your life and I'm going to start seeing, I'm going to tap in, I'm setting the intention to tap into the ecstasy lens, if you will, that Source sees things through. Just a taste of it. The amount my system, the highest amount my electrical system can handle is what I'm calling in. And I'm setting that intention right now. Why don't you set it with me? I think you already have. Thank you for joining me. And that's what I got for you today. Well, I take that back. I have one other thing. I have a song. I'm going to play Edamame featuring Tor. The song is called Sable. Until next time, journey well. Love you so, so much.